Thanks for joining me for 5 Minutes on the Go. I want to talk to you for just a few moments about parenting. By no means do I consider myself to be the resident expert on parenting, but we have reared three wonderful children that are now adults with families of their own, and they're doing a wonderful job parenting their children. So at least I share these insights from a perspective of experience. Um, I want to just talk to you for a moment about the powerful impact that spending time with your kids has. You know, there are certain things that are taught and other things that are caught. And when you spend time with your children, it communicates your love and it communicates their value. Years ago, whenever we first bought this property and we bought this house and we moved it out here, it was moved from the Heights out here to our property, and we started working on the house and doing some remodel, and it's been a journey and took many years. We started that in 1996, and it's a lovely older home, renovated now, and we sure enjoy living here. But back then, it was just a house sitting here with a roof on it and had a lot of work ahead of us. Well, Jordan, my son, would come out here with me and we would work on it and burn materials and do some things, just cleaning up. You know how that goes. Well, one day he and I came out here and he wanted to play pitch. So he brought his ball glove, his baseball, had his cap on, and brought an extra glove for me. And our intent was to do something and then play pitch for about an hour before it got dark. Well, we got here and we got that fire going, and here someone pulls up that attended the church. Then they don't any longer, but back then they did, and they pulled up onto the property and got out and started talking to me about the church and about vision for the church and what we could do and this and that. And standing over to the side was my young 6, 7, maybe 8-year-old son, Jordan, who tossing the ball up in the air, catching it, tossing the ball in the air, catching it, patiently waiting for me to play pitch with him. And I stood there, and those people kept talking, and the sun kept getting lower and lower and lower. And there stood my son throwing that ball in the air, catching it. And those people talked to me until it was almost dark. And then they got in their car and drove away. And there stood my son who had waited, come with me to spend time with me playing pitch. And those people had robbed us of that moment. I tell you what, that had a real impact on me. My heart was broken when I saw the look on my son's face because of the decision that I had made. I thought that was so important. Thought that vision conversation was so important. And there he stood. And now those people couldn't give a rip about me or about the church. They've been gone for many, many years. But you know who my co-pastor is? It's Jordan, who's still in my life, my son. See, time we spend, and let me just say, I apologized for him, and I asked him to forgive me for letting that happen, and I promised him I would never let that happen again, and I kept my commitment. Karen and I, we saw that every time our kids, there was rare exception, but if they had a ball game, if they had an event, nothing took the place of being there with them and for them. I drove teams, drove cheerleaders, drove football, basketball players. We did things in being involved in our kids' life because we knew that involvement communicated our love. Do you know John wrote the Gospel of John? He's the one that said about himself in the book that he wrote, at least on 3 occasions, John, the disciple Jesus loved. He was the one, part of the 3, that went with Jesus into the Garden of Gethsemane and onto the Mount of Transfiguration. Jesus spent time with John, and John understood it meant that Jesus loved him. And because of that, he wrote in the Bible the disciple Jesus loved. Hey, your time with your family tells them you love them. So don't fail to pray.